Hi guys. So I keep seeing comments and hearing people asking questions about could the bus driver have possibly seen Teresa taking pictures of Barb's van on October 31st? I'm not sure why this is still a question, but maybe there are a bunch of new people that aren't really sure. I just wanted to go over a couple of things really quick. First, I'm going to tell you about my personal experience from one of the times that I was out at the Avery property, and then I'm going to go over Detective O'Neill's report from the Marionette County Sheriff's Department, and then Bobby's testimony, and then the bus driver's testimony, and then Wiegert's testimony, where they're all saying the same thing. Whoops, I almost knocked my vape over. They're all saying the same thing. That no, she did not see Teresa on October 31st taking pictures of Barb's van. What she did see was Teresa down by the bus stop taking pictures of the Blazer. So first, I'm going to just go over my story. I was there a couple of years ago with a group of people, and we did the whole Pam of God walk, and then we were going to walk down to Stephen's trailer. And I remember as we were doing that, I asked Carla, I was like, where's the bus stop? Just to make sure that I have the right location. I already had it in my head. I had an idea of where it was, and so she told me it's right there. It's right there where the mailboxes are, right at the end of Avery Road and what the bus driver calls the driveway that leads down to the trailers, down to Stephen's and Barb's trailers. So it was right at the intersection of Avery Road and the driveway, and there's some mailboxes right there, and that's where she would pick them up. And there's also a big paved area in the road where it gets really wide, and this is where she would turn the bus around. Like, she would come in, pick them up, and then turn around and go back up Avery Road. She never went in down the driveway at all. She never went into like where the office is at and anything like that. She would just stay right there on that paved area. And from the aerial shots, you can see where that gets a little wider. And I looked at it, and it's big enough to flip a bus around. So, so I stood down down by at the intersection, and there was some other people that were all the way up standing where Barb's van was at, and I'm looking down the road like I'm the bus driver, and I can tell you for a fact that if you see anything down there, a person is just going to look like a human-shaped blob. You're not going to be able to tell if they're male or female unless there's some crazy identifying, like they've got really freaking long hair or something crazy like that. Like, you're not going to know if they're even male or female. It's just a human-shaped blob. They're so far away. So you definitely couldn't see anything as small as a camera. And there were people, you know, obviously holding their phones. They're like live streaming on Facebook and stuff, so they're holding their phones. I couldn't see anything other than blob shapes. So I know for sure that she's down at the bus stop. She can't see that far down there to even know that there's first of all, that there's a girl, what she looks like, or what she's doing. Especially not that she's holding a camera. So that's not happening. There's also a really good video on YouTube, and if I can find it, I will link it in the description below so you can see a really good video. I wish I would have done this while I was there. I didn't even think of it. Where you can see the camera zooms it zooms all the way down onto somebody standing down by the van, and then zooms out, and as it goes out, you can see how far. It's really far. It's a lot farther than you might think, and it's just not possible. You can't see from that distance. But it's a really good video. It shows you very well how impossible that is. So the first thing I want to read from is the Marionette County Sheriff's Department Supplemental Report, Investigative Division. This is from Officer Detective O'Neill, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read one paragraph, and this is a really important paragraph, okay? It says, I had been informed by Agent Skorlinski that law enforcement also involved in this investigation had interviewed the school bus driver that would have dropped off Brendan and his brother Blaine at the end of their driveway in Two Rivers, Wisconsin on Monday, October 31st, 2005 at about 3:45 p.m. and that the driver had reported seeing both Halbach and her vehicle on the Avery property, and that she was taking photos of a vehicle for sale close to the road where the boys were dropped off. And in parentheses, it says Stephen Avery's Blazer. It says Blazer. Stephen Avery's Blazer. It doesn't say Barb's van, nothing. It says Stephen Avery's Blazer. And that's really super important because that information obviously came from the bus driver and was relayed through whatever officer she spoke to there on the property and relayed down to those in Marionette who very first spoke to Brendan. And this is why on November 6th, when Brendan is sitting in the police car, why they flip on him and they're like, no, the bus driver saw you. And all the other kids on the bus also saw. They saw her. So if the bus driver and the other kids on the bus saw, then you must have also seen. And then that's when they started getting him to flip. Okay, well, yeah, I might have seen her, you know. So that's really super important that they had this information all the way back in the beginning. Sorry about the train. That she was down by the bus stop, not down by the Dassey home taking pictures of the van. She was down by the bus stop taking pictures of the Blazer. And that's what it says right there in the very first report. All right, now I'm going to go to, this is Bobby's testimony. It is cross-examination by Strang. It's on page 732 of the in the Castle report of the trial. He's talking about Barb's van being for sale, and then it go. I'll just read from this. It says, at the same time that one was for sale, the van. Were you aware of other cars that may have been for sale, or on and off, you know, for sale, whether they were actively advertised or not? He said yes. They said such as, and the answer Bobby gives is Stephen had a Chevy Blazer for sale in a Monte Carlo. And then they ask, where were those kept, if you know? He said, up at the end of our driveway. And they said, this is back around Halloween 2005? He says, yes. And then they say, at the end of your driveway, you mean there's a road that comes down if you take a right onto the driveway? Instead of going into the salvage yard business, there's a road. And he says, yes. That runs east-west near the north side of the property? Yes. Is that the driveway you're referring to? Yes. That actually goes down a little loop driveway in front of your house? Yes. Blah, 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 blah. And he says, so it would have been up towards the main road, so to speak. And he says, yes. By the entrance to the business? By the mailbox? Or the entrance to the office? Yes. Yeah. So Bobby is saying this is where the Blazer was parked, was down by the bus stop also. So now let's see, I'm going to go to the bus driver's testimony, where she is describing exactly where she would have seen Teresa, or where she dropped the boys off, where the bus stop was. And this is also in the trial, Stephen Avery's trial. It starts on page 4504. Where did you pick up the Dassey boys in the morning? She said, right in front of their driveway. And can you tell us sort of where that was? Down, I believe it's down Avery Road. Not really sure. How would you get to Avery Road? I would go to the end of Avery Road and pick the boys up in front of their driveway and then turn around. So basically, she's talking about that intersection right there. She would pick the boys up in front of their driveway and turn around in that big, widened area. Okay, so when you say the end, down to the end of the paved road that ran north-south, and she said yes, it was a paved road and they were on a gravel road. The gravel road is what she's calling the driveway. And they said, that's what you're calling the driveway? And she says yes. Okay, so as you're driving down Avery Road, which side of you was the driveway on? The right was her answer. Okay, and then what did you do at the end of the road, or how did you go to the next stop from that? And then she said, I would turn around and come back the same way. Alright, and then we'll pop down here to page 4507 of her same testimony. During the week that began Monday, October 31st, 2005, do you remember seeing anything that you remembered later on when you dropped the Dassey boys off on that week? And she said she remembers seeing a woman taking photographs. And she said, could you tell what the woman was taking photographs of? And she said, a van. She said, okay, really quick. This is the only part of the bus driver's testimony that ever changes. She obviously is calling it a Blazer when she very first talked to the police, and then for some reason by the time she gets to trial she's calling it a van. And I'm sure that we can all guess why that is, and I'm just gonna to like be as friendly as possible. Let's just assume that the reason that she was given, let's just all call it a van so it doesn't confuse the jury, right? I can totally see Kratz tricking her in that way of saying, let's not call it a Blazer because that'll confuse the jury. We're talking about a van, so let's just all call it the same thing. Let's just all call it a van. So I can see how he might have tricked her in that way. And he says, where was the woman taking photographs of the van? And she says, in the driveway. And he says, in the driveway you just described? She says, yeah, the one on the right. Okay, about how far, could you see how far down the van was? And she says, it was right by the pavement, in the, right there. I don't know, like I think she's pointing at a picture, so, and then she says, do you remember anything about the van? And she says it was junk, is what she remembers about it. And that's exactly, if you read her police report, she's actually saying that, she says, I asked myself, why are they taking pictures of this? It's junk. So, and she was referring to the Blazer. And she says, or he says, do you remember where? How did you know the woman was taking photographs? And she said, I saw a woman taking photographs. I saw a camera. And like I said, there's no way she could have possibly seen it all the way down the driveway, something as small as a camera. I don't care how big it, I mean, unless you had like a movie-sized camera, there's no freaking way she could tell that there was a camera there from that distance. Okay. And then it goes down into her testimony. How is it that you later remembered that? And she says, I remember I was laying down on the couch and I remembered that I made a comment to myself, why would anybody take a picture of a piece of junk? Yeah, so within a few days she went and talked to the police about what she had seen. And she did tell them that it may have been a week or 2 weeks before, so I'm assuming that this was the October 10th occasion where Teresa had come out to take pictures of a vehicle. So that's probably when she did see Teresa. So it was within a pretty short time frame. Yeah, so let's go to Wiegert's testimony. This is It's starting on page 4816. And this is cross-examination by Kratz. He says, Mr. Wiegert, I'm showing you what's been received as exhibit number 86. When you spoke to Miss Buchner early on in this investigation, was she able to explain or describe for you where this woman was seen taking the photographs? He says, she had indicated at the time she saw this woman taking photographs was toward the shop area, which is right there at the end of the driveway, by the shop where the big turnaround is, right where the mailboxes are, still on the paved road. It was towards the shop area, if you will, at the intersection of Avery Road where it meets with the driveway, where you go down to the residences. There's a set of mailboxes right there and right in that area. So again, he's definitely saying that this is what the bus driver told him. This is where she saw Teresa taking pictures, not down in front of Barb's house. And then we'll skip down to 4818, still in Wiegert's testimony. In fact, this intersection, which shows actually 2 command post vehicles, I'm pointing to those, is that where law enforcement officers set up their command center? We've all seen pictures of that, right? That's right there at that intersection. He says yes. And isn't it, in fact, true, Investigator Wiegert, that this very vehicle I'm pointing to here, a Blazer, as well as a Pontiac Grand Prix behind it, were vehicles that were for sale at the Avery salvage property when you arrived there on the 5th? And he says yes, and that would make sense. I mean, if you're going to sell a car, you're going to have it up where people are coming and going. And, of course, then there's an objection. But why there was the vehicle taken, like the picture was taken down by Barb's house for whatever reason. I don't know why that was different, but it seems like it was more common when she would come out and take pictures. She would take the pictures and the vehicle would be parked down at the intersection of Avery Road and their driveways so that customers coming and going could see there's a vehicle for sale and, you know, ask questions in the office just right there. And that would make sense. And I have no doubt that's probably what the plan was with Barb's van. They would eventually move it down so that customers could come and go and could ask questions in the office. That's probably the same sort of plan that they were going to go with, you know, with hers. It just, that never happened. And, you know, an interesting little tidbit of information, that vehicle, the van, never sold, and Earl said he crushed it at some point, like in 2006 or 2007. So, like, I was just rewatching a video from a couple of years ago where he said that, and I thought that was interesting. So anyway, hopefully that will help everybody straighten it out. The bus driver did not ever see Teresa on October 31st. She didn't see her that day. She saw her on a previous visit taking a picture of a completely different vehicle in a completely different location than where Barb's van was. So, like, hopefully we can get past that and I guess at least accept that the bus driver didn't see Teresa on October 31st. And that's it. So hopefully that was helpful to some of the newer people. If not, just, you know, feel free to ask questions down below. Like, I'm going to link all of these places that I'm reading from so you can all take a look for yourselves and see what I'm talking about. And it should be hopefully clear. Thanks for watching.